Hey, Alex. Nice
Hey,
to
Brian.
meet you.
How are you? Pleasure to meet you. Thank you for coming in today. I appreciate you spending some time with us. Brian, just to give you an idea what I was hoping to accomplish today is really get a feel for what's important to you in a home, get you access to that free list of homes that we had talked about, and really at the end, just kind of answer any questions you might have about the home buying process. Any questions about the process before we get started?
Not about the process, but you told me on the phone that if I saw anything to let you know.
Yeah.
So I have a bunch of properties that I wrote down that I've seen on the internet that I'd like you to get me more information on, and maybe we could even go and take a look at.
Absolutely, yeah. If you'd like to share those with me, we'll pull those up. We'll be able to get you all the information that's just provided to us privately as real estate agents, so we'll make sure they're good fits for you.
Okay, awesome.
All right, awesome. So, Brian, really for me to do a great job, kind of help me understand what you're looking for in a property. So things like your neighborhood, bedrooms, bathrooms, anything that's really important to you that I should really know about.
Yeah, well, as you can see, I work out, so I would like a gym.
Okay.
Hey. So a gym's really important to me. You know, New Year's resolution, so we're going to really increase that fitness goal. Garage is important.
Okay.
You know, I want something that, you know, I have some automobile toys that I'd like to tuck away in the garage and keep them covered.
Gotcha. Okay. And when we had spoke on the phone, you had mentioned Aubrey, Frisco. Any other areas that you were interested in as well?
Yep, Prosper. We're not really familiar with the area.
Okay.
We're new to the area. Well, and when I say new, you know, I come down here quite a bit, but I'm looking to relocate here permanently.
Okay. And what was it about these specific areas that was important to you?
They're convenient to my office.
Okay. Okay. Now, is this a first home for you, or have you owned a home in the past?
No, I owned a home in New Hampshire.
So you said you're coming down. Is it just you, or are there other people, family that's coming with you?
It's just me.
Just you. Okay. So is anything like a school district, is that important to you, maybe for resale purposes, or you, as long as it's in these specific areas, is that what's most important?
Yeah, I don't know the area, but I certainly don't want to be in the ghetto or in any crime areas.
Okay.
You know, resale value would be important to me.
So resale value, that's good to know. All right. So let's talk about some of the features and amenities that are must-haves for you. Start with bedrooms. What's the minimum? And the reason why I say minimum is our computerized home profiling system will actually take the minimum bedrooms and more. So for example, if 2 is okay, we'd give you 2, 3, 4. So if there's any flexibility, just let me know so we can set it up right for you.
I would say 3 would be a minimum, but
Okay.
I need an office. So
Okay.
I don't know. I need 3 bedrooms
Plus an office?
plus an office.
Gotcha. Master bedroom, is that important whether or not that's on the first floor to you?
Doesn't matter, no.
Okay, so we're open to that. Bathrooms, did you have a preference on the number of full bathrooms?
At least 1.
One room. Now you had mentioned garage, you have some car toys and stuff like that. How many bays did you need?
I'd like 3 minimum.
3 minimum.
Yeah, if there were more, that'd be great.
Okay, so we'll set that up for 3 or more.
Yep, and you know, the summers get hot down here. It's not a must, Alex, but I'd love a home with a pool. I'd like to do some entertaining. And
Okay. So let me get clear on that. Does the home itself need to have a pool, or would a community pool work for you as well?
no, I'd want my own.
So in yard.
Yeah, if it had a community pool, I probably wouldn't use it, but
Okay.
I'd want the ability to put a pool in my own yard.
Okay, so if it doesn't have a pool, but the yard could accommodate one in the future, that would work for you?
Yeah, you know, as we're talking about it, I probably wouldn't. Pools, you know, I've done some research to put a good pool in, you know, 75, 100 grand, and I probably won't get my money back. You'd know better than me on resale. So probably, let's look at homes with pools
Only, okay.
at first and see what comes
Yeah,
up.
what's really good and what's important about getting together initially is just so I get a better understanding of what your likes and dislikes are, so I can do a better job in sending you the initial list of homes. Once we've got it dialed in, we could always critique it. You know, you could send me an email and say, hey, let's expand our search to homes that would accommodate a pool. For instance, if we're not getting you the inventory that you really like or meets the rest of your needs.
Okay.
So we had mentioned bedrooms, you need an office. Anything like a game room, media room, anything like that a necessity in a property?
That'd be great.
Okay. Is it a necessity? Because the computer system is only so smart, so if I say it must have it, you'll never get a home without those features.
I would say one or the other. So either a game room or a media room.
Okay.
But one or the other.
Gotcha. Okay. Formal dining room important to you?
No.
No? Okay, so we're open to that. Okay. So Brian, could you share with me some three of the things that are just must-haves for you, where you wouldn't even consider looking at the home if it didn't have? What's really important?
That's a great question. You know, the first thing that came to my mind is a roof. Like, it must have a roof, but that's, I don't know, it's just what I'm thinking. I would say a fenced yard would be nice,
Okay.
but it's not a must,
Yeah.
right? So must. Condition, it must be in good shape.
Gotcha.
I don't have the interest or the time or the desire to do renovations.
Okay,
So
that's
something
good.
that's in great shape, pride of ownership.
Okay.
You know, nice kitchens. When I say nice kitchens, I'm talking about, you know, not your basic cabinetry. I'm looking for something a little bit upscale, a little bit more magnificent.
Gotcha. So would you say granite is a necessity or sometime
Yeah.
upgraded? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you could think of? Hardwood floors?
Hardwood floors are nice.
Okay.
Not a must, but nice.
Anything else?
What do people normally suggest? I don't know.
Sure. I mean, you got a great list here, and it's really ultimately what's important to you that the home has to have. So things like the fence yard, condition, obviously you're not looking for a fixer-upper, so that's great to know, so we can make sure we're sending you the appropriate style homes that are upgraded.
I don't want to be right on top. You know, I see the homes are kind of clustered down here.
Okay.
I don't want to be right on top of my neighbors, brushing my teeth, looking at my neighbors.
So lot size, privacy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good to know. So let me ask you this. What three things would completely turn you off in a house where you would say, you know what, I don't even want to look at that property? Is it condition, basically? Is it?
Someone who's disrespected their home, who hasn't taken care of it.
Okay,
I wouldn't want to deal with that.
sure.
Something that's not in a upscale community, you know, that's not in a nice area. What else? You know, condition really is
Condition is your big one.
Yeah.
Got it. That's great to know. Okay. So when we had spoke last, you had mentioned that you're currently under a lease, and that lease is getting ready to expire in June. Is that still your time frame that you were hoping?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And let me ask you, I mean, if you weren't able to find something by June, what would that do to your plans?
I'd have to extend my lease, and you know, I want to put this behind me. You know, I'm very goal oriented,
Okay.
so I'd like to be in the house by June.
Okay. Now let me ask you, if we found a really good deal for you sooner, would you be open to closing sooner?
Super. Yep.
Good.
That would
All right.
work for me.
Great. So since you're open to closing sooner, how often would you like to be notified of the new homes? We could do instantly, daily, every other day, weekly. What would you prefer? What's better? More
Instantly.
Instant.
How many think he's doing a good job? I'm like, I'm really, just so you know, I'm trying to gain control of this conversation. I'm having a hard time. It's pissing me off, too.
All right, so we'll get those sent over to you instantly. Brian, is there anybody else in the home buying decision that's going to help you make that decision, or is it just you?
You know, it's just me.
Just you?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Aside from finding the home that meets or exceeds exactly what you're looking for, which I'm really confident we could do for you, what else in the process of buying a home would you say is most important to you? And what I mean by that, for example, is it getting a really low interest rate, cheap closing costs, getting access to homes before other buyers know about it so you're not having to compete on price, no sales pressure? How would you rate those? What would you say is the most important in the process?
Speed. You know, I'm impatient, so that you should know that. Sometimes I'm told that I have no filter and I'm difficult to deal with. It's not my intention, but I like to set my sights on a goal and accomplish it and move on to my next goals. So I don't want this to drag out.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, we spoke, you said you weren't aware of any credit issues. You had spoke to a lender, but you wanted some different options when we got together. So what were you comfortably looking to put down for a down payment?
As much as necessary. I mean, interest rates are great right now. I've followed the market a little bit. I know that you can take advantage of mortgage interest deductions. So as little as possible. You know, I have more than enough money to put down on the property, but I'd like to leverage it as an investment.
Fantastic. And the price range you're comfortably looking in?
You know, I don't really have a range.
Okay.
I would say that to get what I want, I'm probably gonna have to spend $500,000 or $600,000. And you know, if it were the right house, I'd be willing to go higher.
Okay. Higher for the right house. Were you trying to, obviously we want to put down as little as possible, take advantage of how low the rates are. Did you still want to keep it within a certain payment on a monthly basis, or
No.
you're open? Okay.
No.
That's good to know. Okay. All right, that's good to know. So you said you had started the pre-qualification process. Are you sticking with that specific lender, or did you still want to go over some different options? we have
Well,
available?
I do my banking at Bank of America.
Okay.
I talked to the guy over there, Ted Jordan.
Okay.
He was a nice guy, got me pre-approved, pulled my credit, said no problems.
Gotcha. All right. That's good to know. Any questions that maybe I could have asked you to help get a better understanding of your current situation and what's important to you?
Just how soon can we get out there and look at some houses?
Yeah, well, we're going to get you that list today, so if there's anything that really piques your interest, let me know. Obviously, speed is important to you, so we can turn those around very quickly based on your availability.
Great.
So, Brian, I just want to make sure, because we're going to send these instantly to you, so I want to make sure I'm sending it to the best email. You had given me brian@naea.com. Is that the best email?
Yeah, that'll work.
All right, perfect. And Brian, just give me that cell phone number one more time so I have it here.
It's 603
Yeah.
555 1212.
Is that going to be the best way to get a hold of you even during
I just
work?
don't want 100 of you having my cell phone numbers. You'll be drunk dialing me next week.
So cell phone, is that the best way to get a hold of you during the day, even while you're at work?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you prefer phone call, email, text? What's easier for you?
My phone's not on, so I check it periodically, but you can do, you know, I'll check listings on email on my computer,
Gotcha, good.
but if you have something that you need to get a hold of me, text is good.
Gotcha. All right. Awesome.
Rarely do I answer the phone, so.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, we want to make sure we're reaching you the appropriate way, especially if we come across a really good deal, because, you know, again, speed is important to you, so we just want to make sure we're doing a good job for you. Brian, I mean, based on what you told me, there's no question we could help you find what you're looking for. Are you familiar with our smart home buying system?
No.
Okay, then this will be really helpful. Not only will it kind of tell you what it is, but why it's so important to have a smart home buying system. You know, you may not be aware of this, but the average decisions a home buyer is making in today's market could literally be costing them tens of thousands of dollars in unnecessary expenses. And one of those reasons is, well, let me ask you this. If you had to guess, how many homes do you think the average real estate agent is selling on a yearly basis?
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea.
Would you guess 20, 30? If you just had to take a wild guess.
Yeah, I'd guess 20 or 30.
So you'd be shocked to know that the average real estate agent last year only sold about 8 homes. Now that's one home every 45 days. And the problem with that is, that just means that while they want to do a really good job for you, they just don't have the expertise or the knowledge to know what are the pitfalls that could come along in the process of buying a home. They're just not experienced enough in asking the proper questions, nor do they have the experience in negotiating. So do you see how trying to follow somebody who just doesn't have the experience down the path of home ownership, how that in itself could lead you to make decisions that could possibly cost you tens of thousands of dollars?
Yeah, I could see where that would be a problem.
Yeah. And now the second one here, the challenge is half of those real estate agents, they invest less than $500 a year in sales development and skills training. Now, as a member of the National Association of Expert Advisors, we're constantly improving our system and educating ourselves, spending countless hours in working on a system to help you find the perfect home at the best price and the best possible terms. Another problem, Brian, is 85% of real estate agents have no specialty or certification in working with a home buyer.
Wow.
Yeah, that's scary.
Do you have one?
Absolutely. I was just going to let you know that as part of the National Association of Expert Advisors, I have what's called our CHBA, which is our Certified Home Buying Advisor designation. Now, this is not a designation where you just spend $100 and it's something you just pay to have. This is a designation that really involved going to an off-site 3-day intense boot camp where we were trained specifically on what's going on in the market, trained on a proven, repeatable system to help you take advantage of getting the best possible deal. It's also a system where we are 20+ hours a week of continuing education and keeping current on the market. So it really helps us having a proven, repeatable system to help you find the perfect home.
Wow.
Yeah. This last little bit of information here, while it doesn't look shocking, this is probably the worst statistic that comes out from the National Association of Realtors. 90% of home buyers last year did not have a buyer agency disclosure presented to them in writing before working with a real estate agent. Are you familiar with what a buyer agency disclosure is?
No.
Okay. So what that is it basically lets you know who all the players are in the game. Let's just say we were driving down the street, Brian, and you saw a sign in the yard, and it was in the neighborhood we were looking for, and it's a Coldwell Banker sign. And you pick up the phone, you call that agent, and you're trying to get information. Well, not only the agent on the sign, but everybody that works for that office has a legal written obligation. They're working exclusively for the seller. So what that means to you is, let's say they showed you the house, and you're walking through and you're saying, I haven't seen a house that showed this well in this neighborhood, and I've been looking for 6 months. And they're asking you, well, what do you think about the price? I think it's worth every dollar. You don't know that all that information you're sharing is literally being passed along to the seller. So whatever you say is really being used against you because the agents work exclusively for the homeowner to get them the best possible deal. And I'm sure you're not trying to pay top dollar and make sure the seller gets everything that they want. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
So what this does, this protects you.
Now that you mentioned that, I shared a lot of my financials with you. Is that a problem?
No, because we'll actually take care of you and we'll give you documentation that says anything you provide us is fully confidential. So you're fully protected.
All right.
And we haven't showed you a house, so you haven't divulged any information as far as how much you like a home. So nothing is going to actually hurt you when it comes to negotiating, where if you were speaking with that other agent inside the home, wouldn't you agree that type of knowledge could hurt you in negotiating?
Yeah, that was my concern.
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about that. We haven't looked at a home, so nothing has been divulged about how much you like a specific property. Now, I think when you look at all these statistics, it's a little bit concerning, and it's probably not a shock that almost 70% of home buyers that bought a home were dissatisfied with the home buying process. And what we've discovered with the National Association of Expert Advisors is the Expert Advisor Smart Home Buying Strategy. And what that is there's 80 different variables, Brian, in the home buying process. And it's over these 7 principles or laws of real estate that how we proactively manage those variables really determines whether you find the perfect home at the right price and the right terms. What I'd like to do is quickly show you exactly how we proactively manage those variables to make sure you do find the right home. Is that okay?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. So Brian, this here is
Do you want to do that first, or do you want to go over these listings I brought with me?
Yeah, I'm going to take those listings. What I want to cover a couple things based on the feedback that you gave me here that were important to you.
Okay, fair
And then
enough.
as soon as we finish this up, not only will I get you the information on those, I'm going to give you a list of everything that matches really based on what you gave me today for your criteria.
That sounds good.
Awesome. So Brian, law 1, if you look over here, is the expert advice. And what that is it's basically giving you the proper advice to make sure you don't make any costly emotional decisions, or worse yet, end up buying a home that's not the right home for you. The first way we do that is our smart home buying strategy. And a lot of this we've already covered in our counseling interview here, and that's talking about, what's your timing, how quickly do you want to move? We know speed is important to you. Talking about your needs and your wants, what's important in the property to you. We've talked about the neighborhood profile. You want something upscale. So what we're going to do now is create a customized plan just for you based on everything you've provided us to make sure we only deliver to you the homes that meet or exceed your criteria. The next section is looking at real estate as an investment. There's two types of buyers. You're going to have your emotional buyer, and then you're going to have your equity buyer. The equity buyer is really evaluating every house, Brian, as an investment. It's dollars and cents. The emotional buyer is the person who's going to walk into the home and they're going to start envisioning, hey, my furniture fits here. This is a great room that we could have friends and family over, entertain in. And their emotions get tied to a specific property, which is great. But my goal is to not only have you fall in love with the home you buy, but also make sure you're getting it at a proper price to make sure you have equity and get that equity as quickly as possible for you. Some of the ways we could do that is we want to look at a 15-year versus 30-year mortgage. What are the pros and cons of each? Is this a potential property that you might want to rent out at some point? Is this a long-term stay for you? Is it a possible short-term where you're looking for a fast equity on the home? So we'll really evaluate all of this as we move forward. And market intelligence. There's 26 market indicators that we're proactively always watching in our market. And things such as the price trends, are prices going up, the market absorption, and what that means is market absorption is if you take the number of homes that sell every month and divide that by the current active homes. That lets us know how many months supply of inventory. So it's important to know if inventory is just at a high level, you have a great opportunity to find a home and negotiate really hard because there's a huge selection. It's basically supply and demand is what that comes down to. One of the things here, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the number one most mismanaged variable in the home buying process, interest rate. Were you aware, Brian, that literally a 0.25% difference in interest rate could cost you tens of thousands of dollars in just interest over the life of a loan?
You know, I didn't give it a lot of thought, but it makes sense to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And something as high as an interest rate, let's say rates were to go up from now until you actually purchase the home by 1%. Did you know a 1% raise in interest rate actually affects your ability to buy by 10%? And based on what we're looking at here at, say, $500,000-$600,000, that's $50,000 to $60,000 loss of your ability to buy a home. And if we're losing $50,000 to $60,000, it's going to be a little bit harder to find all the features and amenities because you just don't have that room to purchase a home at that level anymore. So really keeping an eye on interest rate is one of the things that we do, and we definitely keep you up to date on what's going on. Now, do you see how getting the right advice could really help you make the proper decisions on the home that you want to buy?
Yep.
Great. Law 2.
Hold on. I'm screwed, aren't I? This guy's good, isn't he? Give him a hand. Like, I just want to digress first. Do you want some water?
I'm good.
All right. Because sometimes when you speak in front of a group, you want to stay hydrated. But man, he is good. He is good, isn't he? I'm very, very impressed. Like, this is a very real situation. I'm an intelligent person, and he's articulating things that just, he found me $75,000 right there. I'm like, do I want to really go somewhere else? And I'm still going to try to give him a hard time and be. But it's hard. How many of you, if you're in my shoes, could someone help me? What could we possibly throw at this guy?
I would say, which has happened, if you've got someone there that's really...
Hold on, yeah. Because I feel like I'm in the ring with Mike Tyson.
Thank you.
He told me, by the way, he was going to make mincemeat out of me. But
Have you ever had people, Alex, that they're just anxious to go see a home? And as good as you are doing this, and you are, have you ever had them keep repeating, and Brian did it a couple of times, mentioning his list of homes. When can we go see a home? Let's go see a home.
But he's got me. He's slowing me. He's controlling the process where I recognize that it's not to my benefit to try to control the process. It's as much as I want to say, hey, what about this one?
What about my list? Yeah.
And I'll go over some of the things. I have a couple of little distinctions that I want to share for him. I'm in for the benefit of everyone else. But I also have some great things that he said, and I hope you're taking notes. Like he said, not only will I give you those, how many of you picked that up? But I'm going to print out everything that matches your criteria. I'm like, okay. Yeah, so good. All right, great comment. I'm going to try harder to get him off his game. But how many of you recognize you can do this? Like you can do this. Yeah.
If in your process, if you have somebody that's impatient like that, do you try to go ahead and just close without going through all that, or do you stick to your guns?
I think there's some things that are really important that you touch on. So
he's only on the first law, and he's got me at hello like Jerry Maguire, you know. But
yeah. So if they're pushing typically around that fourth law, you know, do you see how this strategy? You have any questions? Some type of trial close, and if they're ready to go, then I'll just say, well, great, I'll speed up here, but there's 2 or 3 things I definitely want to talk to you that are an advantage, you know, important to you to know about. And then I'll just kind of really just hurry it up. And I think part of it is the personality of the person that you're talking to. If they're a high D, you got to really speed it up. You're not going to go through every single detail.
And I'm taking notes up here, so I want to share with you what's going on in my brain afterwards. And the things where he really got me, like there were moments where I'm like, bastard, right? You know, he's really good. And I'll let you know what those are. So we'll just continue to keep the flow going, and we'll let Alex do his thing. So hold your questions. Great input.
So Brian, Law 2 is the future homeowner responsibility. You know, owning a home is fantastic. It's yours. You've got your privacy. You know, you could have friends and family over. It's great. But there's a lot more to owning a home than literally just making your mortgage payment. Some of those things you want to be aware of are the future home maintenance costs. In doing so,
I don't care about any of that.
You don't care at all?
No.
Okay.
I've got a cleaning lady that I was introduced to. She does a great job on my apartment. If I need anything, I call the plumber. I don't mess around with any of that.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, is something like utility cost, is anything like that important to you that you want to know about?
Not really.
Okay, no problem. Well, what about the age of the roof, the age of the hot water, age of the furnace, age of the central air? I mean, you did mention that it gets really hot here, so having the age of that AC unit is probably important to you, right?
Yeah. I thought I had him. Because really, I don't care. I don't know what I pay in electric. But all right, go on.
Yeah. So great. So one of the things that we could do, since having the age of that equipment is important to you, is really have a quality home inspector come out who can evaluate all the major mechanicals for you. And the reason why that's important is, you know, we're making our offer now not knowing the condition of all of these properties. So gathering some of that information that we can go back and either reevaluate the offer, whether it still makes sense to you, or whether we want to have the item replaced or get a credit for you. So having a great quality home inspection could really, you know, help you not buy a home that's going to have massive amounts. Because you had mentioned that you definitely don't want to do anything that's a fixer-upper.
Right.
So making sure we do a quality inspection for you up front. And again, future responsibilities, you know, that furnace, that AC, what we could do is get a home warranty for you that covers all of those expenses. The home warranty is about a $60 to $75 deductible, and it covers 16 of the major mechanicals in a property. So if that AC unit was to go in the first year, instead of writing a check for $5,000, you literally would pay a $75 deductible. And our home warranty company would pick up the rest. The $75 is for them to come out, evaluate what needs to be fixed. So would you like to have a home warranty on a home that you buy?
Yeah, if it protects those things.
Yeah,
Who pays for that?
Well, I could actually have the seller pick that up for you.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
Great. And if for any reason the seller's not willing to pick that up, we would actually step in and cover that for you. That's how important we believe that is.
Okay, cool.
Lifestyle, quality of life choices. We've already talked about a lot of this and the type of neighborhood you want to be. So do you see how looking at all the potential costs of a home in advance of writing an offer or purchasing the home is important to you to make the right decision on the type of home you want to buy?
For sure.
Awesome. Law 3 we talked about, that's the home equity swing. The home equity swing really just helps you maximize future equity in a potential property. A couple ways we could do this. Talk about a 30-year versus a 15-year. 15 years is great because you're paying down a lot of the principal on the home and helps you build equity quicker. 30-year is great because it gives you the flexibility where you can still pay it in 15, but let's say your foot got run over and you were out of work for 6 months. We can now have the flexibility to make the 30-year payment, which I'm sure $500, $600, $700 a month would be would mean a lot to you in that situation.
Do you know that's a sensitive subject to me?
Did this happen to you?
Yeah, my foot got run over.
So let me ask you, if you had the flexibility to almost cut your payment in half, would that have made that part of your life a little bit more manageable?
Yes.
Less stressful?
Yeah.
Great. So we'll evaluate that. We'll look at the interest rates and see what makes sense for you. Have you heard of the 13th payment?
13th payment. No.
So basically, if you were to make one extra payment every single year, that would save you almost 7 years off the life of your mortgage. 7 years of just interest. So knowing that in advance, you
Right.
could really pay down the equity
Well,
a lot quicker.
Interest rates today, 3.5%, 3.75%, 4%. So whatever I'm paying down, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'd be saving 3.5%, 4% in interest. I could actually invest that money, Alex, and make a whole lot more.
You could invest it, but the way that mortgage interest is compounded, a small investment of one extra payment, which is $1,500 a year, you're talking $40,000, $50,000 of just interest.
Wow.
So that's a pretty good return on that investment. Definitely better than sticking it in the bank,
Okay.
right?
Yep. I think I've met my match. Is this going to take a lot longer, Alex? Because I did tell you I get antsy and I'm impatient, and I do appreciate you. You're a knowledgeable guy, but there's a basketball game on in a couple hours that I'd like to watch, and I don't know how long are you going to hold me hostage in this office.
Well, let me ask you, Brian, based on what you've heard so far in our proven repeatable system, do you believe that this is the best system to find you the perfect home at the right price and terms?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Okay, awesome. Then we could wrap it up pretty quickly. There are a few more things, though, that I think are really important to you that you would want to know.
Okay.
So can I just share those quickly with you?
Yep, and for the benefit of everybody, I think, how many of you want to hear Alex articulate a few more, right? But he's doing a great job. Okay, awesome.
All right, so I'm just going to go through the last laws like you didn't say that.
Yep. But I wanted them to see, because are there people like me out there, right, that are like, come on, come on, come on. So let's just back up, and now I'll be like, this sounds really good. What else you got?
Yeah, so Law 4 is really finding the ideal home at the right price. And we can do that, one of the things we want to look at is the hidden landmines. Where's the home positioned? Are you in a floodplain? Are you in an area with power lines? Have you ever heard of a clue report, Brian?
No.
Okay. So when you buy a car, you can get a Carfax on it.
Right.
That lets you know any insurance claims.
Yep.
Well, the clue report is the same thing for a home. So essentially, you could ask your home insurance company to run a clue report for you. And what I would recommend is you probably want to do this early in the process when you're within your option period. And what it's going to tell you is any of the previous homeowners, whether or not they filed an insurance claim, something on flood damage, fire damage, would having that knowledge be important to you?
Yeah, you bet.
So I'll definitely remind you once you do find a home, we'll want to do this in the option period. So if anything negative comes back, your money is fully protected and we can get you out of the deal with no loss. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. Lifestyle neighborhood profile. We talked about resale is important to you. We talked about privacy. You want some land. You want to be in a specific style of neighborhood. It's got to be a good commute to work. So knowing all this really helps us identify what target neighborhoods make sense for you. Okay. Quality of home and home profile. Definitely already spoke a lot about this in detail. We want something newer. We don't want a fixer-upper. We want granite. We want higher-end cabinetry. So that's all important information.
What I just thought of?
Yep.
I like to play golf, and even though I don't play a lot, I wouldn't mind being on a golf course.
Okay.
So if you want to add that to the
Sure.
list.
Let me just take a note. I just don't want to forget about that.
Those homes typically tend to be nicer than, maybe they just. I've seen golf courses where the homes show pride of ownership and.
Great. Yeah, we can make sure we include golf courses, golf course communities in your list.
Great.
The unfair advantage in
By the way, does that happen where people think of things as they're going along? So it's just natural that I'm throwing that out.
Yeah. The unfair advantage, you want to know the truth about foreclosures. We know you don't want a fixer-upper, but evaluating each foreclosure and the neighborhood and the overall condition might be something we might want to look at. If it's in move-in condition, was well taken care of, they just had a financial, but you can get it at a substantial discount, would you want to know about those types of properties?
Yes, and I'm glad that you clarified that if it was in good condition, because my perception of a foreclosure is that they didn't care enough to keep the house, and maybe that's a misconception, but I don't want something that's in disrepair.
Yeah, and that's why I had said, we'll evaluate the overall condition, but you're right, sometimes there's just no pride of ownership, but sometimes it's something like a medical issue, or a job loss, where they took great care of the home. So in knowing that, you will definitely evaluate those individually to see if they even make sense for you. So do you see how having an ideal home profile and pricing strategy could really help you find the right home?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Law 5 is the negotiation and offer strategy. Are you familiar with what's going on here in the Frisco market?
Yeah, it's the fastest growing city in North America.
Yeah. So we actually have a strategy.
Or one of them.
It's probably top 2 or 3. We actually have a strategy in place when it comes to negotiation. The first one is the position of strength in your pre-approval. Okay. So let me ask you this. Let's say you were the seller. And let's change hats for a second here. And I brought you two buyers. And buyer A offered you $500,000. Buyer B offered you $500,000. The only difference was offer B, that person needed to go to their bank, provide W-2s, pay stubs, bank statements, and go through the whole pre-qualification. While offer A was fully approved and underwritten from their lender, and all they needed to do was appraise the property. Which offer would you choose?
Yeah, I'd go with the offer, the one that's pre-approved.
Absolutely.
And underwritten.
Yeah. So by knowing that, we can make sure you're fully approved prior to writing offers on any specific home, which will give you some leverage, especially if it's a multiple bid situation. Because at that point, you're almost as good as cash.
Well, I thought I shared with you that I'm all set with Bank of America.
Yep. Are you fully underwritten with Bank of America? Because a lot of times what happens is they get you approved, which means they might have spoken to you and took down some documentation, or you verbally told them what your income was. Have you provided them with W-2s, pay stubs, bank statements?
No.
Okay, so you're pre-qualified, which means based off your credit score, which you said was great, your income, they believe you're a strong candidate for a loan. But in this situation, you would be more like offer B, where you still had to provide that documentation, which means, and you said speed was important to you, you got about a 30 to 45 day time frame to close, where if we can have you approved, we can close you in 14 days or less. So that might actually work a little bit better for you as well moving forward. So
yeah, that'd be great.
That's something to keep in mind. That's one strategy. The multiple offer strategy, and I think this is really important that we have a multiple offer strategy. A couple things that we could do differently. A Dear Seller letter kind of lets the person know why you fell in love with the home, pride of ownership, your love for golf if it was a golf. Really just creating a bond between you and the home seller, especially in a multiple bid. Taking a few minutes to write that personal touch and that letter can make a big difference sometimes.
You want me to write the seller a letter?
Yeah, if it's in a multiple bid, let me ask you, would you invest 5 minutes of your time if this was the absolute perfect home and it meant you winning over multiple bids?
I don't know that I could win them over with a letter.
Well, let me actually share something with you. I just had this situation happen where we were in a multiple bid up against a cash offer that was slightly higher than the offer that we wrote. There was a family of 4 selling it, and it was a family of 4 buying it. My client fell in love with the kids' rooms, and we wrote a little letter about how she can really envision her kids utilizing this room. And the seller's response were, we took your offer, we wanted to sell our home to another family like ours. So it does, and it's one strategy, not every strategy, but it's a combination of all the strategies together that can make a big difference of you winning that multiple bid.
Okay.
Another strategy is increasing your earnest money. So letting the seller...
That we can do.
Yeah, letting the seller know, hey, I'm a strongly qualified buyer. I'm serious about your home, so I'm not just going to throw $500 on the offer. I can throw $5,000 down to let you know we're a lot more serious. So that's another strategy. Zero repair allowance, and I don't want you to think, well, what happens if something's wrong with the home and now I'm stuck? So what that basically says is we won't ask you for anything We'll tell you that up front. But here's how you win the negotiation moving forward is you've won the bid, you've tied up the property, you've removed it from the market, the sellers already envision themselves moving to their new home, maybe you've even started packing their bags. You find some issues with the home inspection, and if you're not happy and you want to renegotiate, what we do is we let the seller know, unfortunately, we're going to have to withdraw our offer. Well, why? Well, we found this, it's about $2,000 in repairs, and we said we wouldn't ask you for anything. I'll tell you what, the phone rings very quickly from the seller's agent and the seller. Well, if we did that, would you still take the home? Well, if you'd be willing to, but we said we wouldn't ask. So a lot of times we can position that to win the bid and still have the seller make repairs because they know if it's an important or structural repair, the next buyer is going to find it anyway. So we'll let the agent know, say, hey, we found some structural issues, and we know you're going to have to share that with the next buyer anyway. Would your seller even consider possibly repairing those?
You've done this a few times.
A few.
Yeah, it shows.
So again, Brian, do you see how having an actual strategy when it comes to negotiating and writing an offer could really benefit you in getting the best possible deal on a home?
Yep.
Great. Law 6 is the closing the sale. There's a lot of details that are going to happen in the closing of the sale, buyer's concessions. Have you heard of I don't even know if this is important to you, but maybe not having payments for the next 60 days? Because you're in a lease, and we had mentioned that you'd be open to closing sooner.
Right.
So let's say we were able to find you the perfect home, it was a great deal, but we could strategically position your closing date so your first mortgage payment wasn't due for 60 days. This way you never have to make a mortgage payment and a rental payment. Would that be a benefit?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome. So we could definitely do that for you. So I'll make a note that a 60-day would be helpful. No close. Great. So we'll have a system in place. We have a utility company that will actually help you because I know you're busy. So they'll actually let them know who you want to use for utilities and cable. They'll set all that up for you. So it'll save you a whole bunch of time. They're super competitive with their rates. They'll share the best with you.
Do you guys have satellite dishes down here? I don't like cable.
Yeah, we have satellite. We have Dish Network.
So I don't want to use cable. Is that okay?
Yeah. Would you prefer?
Satellite, yeah.
Awesome. All right. So I could let our contact at the utility company, Utility Concierge, let them know that we want Dish.
Yep.
Did you want the NFL package with that?
How'd you know?
Just a guess. Must be a Patriots fan.
Yeah, 4 Super Bowls,
Yeah.
baby.
My luck.
You like the Pats, don't you?
I love them.
Yeah, they're a great team.
So do you see how having an expert who truly understands the home buying process and how to strategically position that just makes the overall experience much better for you?
This has really been great, yeah.
Cool. Last one, Brian, we'll wrap it up, is the lifetime vendor relationships. You said you're here, you're visiting, you're back and forth. So having some experts in different fields, like a home inspector or a lender who can do the approval in hand and close within 14 days, in the 60 days, no payment. By having those relationships, you see how that could benefit you in just having a much smoother process and closing with less aggravation?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So would you agree? And do you feel that the expert advisor home buying process is the best process to help you find the perfect home at the best price and terms?
Yeah, it sounds great. I mean, you've dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's. You're way more detailed than I am, and I appreciate that. I really am, I don't want to be rude, but I'd like to get
Yep.
the info on these houses.
Well, this is the time to do it.
Awesome.
So why don't you share with me that information? Do you have MLS numbers or just addresses?
Yeah, I have a bunch of MLS numbers.
Can I see that?
Yep. There
Great.
they are.
So what I'm going to do, Brian, is I'm going to get you the list so you can take it with you.
Okay.
It'll have the picture of the outside, all the important information. We'll get you these 5 or 6 that you have, and I'm also going to get you access to everything else based on the criteria that's currently available.
Super.
And that'll be helpful because it's all current. So some of these may have already sold with how hot the market is, so we'll get you the most current access.
Oh, I hope
So,
not.
Yeah, well, let's see what we can do. The good thing is, with our proven system here and the smart home buying system, you'll never miss out on another opportunity because you're going to get the real-time property alerts. Okay, it'll be
Okay.
emailed, and that'll have multiple pictures, satellite views, so you can see what neighborhoods they're in and all the important information that you're looking for.
Cool.
Awesome. Let me go ahead and get that printed out for you. Give me a second. Actually, before I do that, did I talk to you about the Buyer's Advantage program?
I don't think so.
All right, 2 seconds, and I'll go get you this list. I mean, we're 100% committed to doing an amazing job and making this a great process for you. So a couple things that we've done in our office is giving you some of these advantages in the programs that we offer. Number one is love it or leave it. And what that says is if for any reason within the first 18 months you're not happy or satisfied with the home you purchased, we will relist it using our the same system but on the sell side. It's a really awesome, amazing system. We'll provide you that system to help you resell the home at no cost. You will not pay us a fee for relisting that property.
Wow.
It's really our way of really just being there for you and making sure you're really satisfied. Number 2 is the home warranty. We talked about this. If the seller's not willing to pay, we'll actually step in and cover that for you.
Oh, cool.
Title insurance policy, we'll actually do the same thing. If we can't get the seller to provide your title insurance policy, which is a requirement by your lender, protects you and the lender on the property, we'll actually step in and pay that for you as well.
Cool.
So these are some great advantages. Some services we do with our VIP Home Hunter service.
How do you get paid?
We actually get paid from the proceeds of sale from the seller. So this doesn't cost you a penny.
Okay.
Yeah. Part of the VIP Home Hunter service says you're going to get access to not just the MLS properties, but we're going to get you access to coming soon properties, off-market listings, properties instantly in real time so you never miss out on a perfect opportunity. We're going to get you the distressed seller program. I know we don't want fixer-uppers, but there are some sellers who maybe own multiple homes and one of them is vacant, so they may be willing to negotiate more off the price because they're having to pay 2 payments. So we could look at vacant properties as well as other bank foreclosures, corporate-owned, probate, and estate sales to make sure you never miss out on a great bargain. The smart home buying strategy, that's our proven repeatable system that we've gone over. You obviously have seen the benefits of that, so you get that. Customized loan program, you're free to use whoever you want, but we actually have some affiliates that do the 60-day, no payment, can close you in as quick as 14 days. Did you mention you saw a value in that? Is that important to have those?
Well, I like the underwriting. Can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep,
Okay.
yep. So we can get you in contact with Chuck and just hear what he has to offer, and if it makes sense, great.
Okay.
Number 5 is the buyer satisfaction guarantee. And what this is I just want to do a great job for you and not make you sign some lengthy contract. A lot of agents, tie you up into this legal contract that says you have to buy a home from them. And if you don't, then you still owe them a fee. We don't do that. What we do is a handshake deal, basically. Every day I have to be held accountable and do a great job for you. And if I don't, you have the right to evaluate my service and cancel working with me with no cost, no obligation.
All right. Well, I don't want to go through this process again.
Then we'll do an amazing job for you. So, buying a home is a process, so we have to work together as a team. I've kind of shared with you everything we do to make this a great experience. A couple things we'd ask you to help us out with is, 1, give us your home buying criteria. You've already done that, so we're heading in the right direction. Okay. Notify us any homes that you want to see. You've already given me a list. We'll set up showings for you.
So far, I'm the perfect buyer.
So far. When you are ready to find a home that really meets your needs and you want to take the next step, what we'll do for you is we'll actually evaluate that home. We'll show you what recent homes in the neighborhood have sold for to make sure you're not overpaying on a property. So we'll do that. We'll also prepare any offers weighted in your, heavily weighted on the best terms for you. Make sure you're getting the best possible price. All you need to do is if you're walking through an open house or you're going through new construction, just simply let them know you're working with Alex at Kinder Reese so they don't chase you around a home. We talked about earlier, if you remember, Brian, this 90% of the agents don't do the minimum required by the state of Texas and the buyer. So what this says is we'll give you the buyer, Texas buyer agency disclosure, okay? And give you all the legalities to let you know you're fully protected, like I said I would do for you. You had asked how we get paid. Our fee is 3.5%. It's of the purchase price, and that's paid from the proceeds of sale from the seller.
Okay.
Kinder Reese does collect a $395 administrative processing fee, and now this is only due when you close. And what this fee is, so buying the home is a process that we can help you with, but closing it and making sure that process is smooth, we actually hire an outside company. Tara is our contact. She basically your right-hand lady. She makes sure all the I's are dotted, T's are crossed. She answers any questions you have. She makes sure that your HOA documents are received on time. Make sure you have an updated T47 property survey on your property. Her job is to make sure you close on time with no additional cost to you.
All right, that's important.
Yep. And basically, so this agreement is, it's a standard agreement. It's a 6-month agreement, but again, it's day by day because we give you the buyer cancellation. For any reason you're not happy, you provide us 72 hours. It goes right to the broker. And if we're not able to correct that, whether it's give you another agent or something that we can't correct, you're free to buy a home with anybody. No cost, no obligation.
Okay.
All right, let me go ahead and get these homes printed out for you. Give me a few minutes. In the meantime, take a look through this. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay?
Sounds great.
Great. So then I would go print out the list of homes, come back into the room, and I would just say, hey, Brian, did you have any questions on anything?
No, this is pretty self-explanatory.
Awesome. I'll just need an agreement here, here, and here, and we'll give you a copy with this list. We'll throw it in the folder for you, and you'll be good to go.
Okay.
All right, so here's your list of homes. As you can see, we give you, this number here is the MLS number. At any point you want to share a property with me, this is the quickest way that I can turn around and look it up. I can tell you everything you want to know about this property, including what the seller paid for it, what they possibly owe. We can find out what their motivation is for selling. All the things you would probably agree is probably important to know before writing an offer. Would you say that? Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're free to take this. How long do you think it'll take you to look over these 4 pages of properties?
Well, I've got plans tonight to watch the game with some friends. You know, I'll look at them this evening.
This evening? Okay, awesome. So what I'd like to do is let's set up a time, probably Sunday or Monday, that's good for you, whatever time, and pick out your top 4 or 5 that you absolutely just blow your mind that you want to get in to see, and we'll get you into those. And if there's something in here that really piques your interest and you need to get into it sooner, just let me know. But would Sunday work well for you?
Friday would be better.
Friday? Okay.
Yeah,
You think
I'm
you-
impatient.
Do you think
Alex.
you have enough time to review these by Friday?
Yeah.
Okay. If you could do that, let me know. Pick out your top 4, and we'll schedule those, and we'll get you in Friday. I currently have a 2 p.m. available. Will that work for you? I have a 2,
Yep.
or I do have. Okay.
I have some flexibility at work, so I can make that work.
Awesome. So let's get together 2 o'clock on Friday. Go ahead as soon as you pick out those top 4 tonight. Email them to me or text. I'll give you my card, and we'll go ahead. We'll schedule these at 2 o'clock on Friday.
Sounds great.
Awesome. Cool, Brian. I appreciate you coming in.
I appreciate you.
Hey, one last thing. If we're going through a neighborhood or you get to a house and you're not feeling it, just let me know. Because we don't have to waste your time. I know it's valuable. So if you're not feeling the home, we don't have to even go inside. You know, I want to make sure we're doing a great job for you. So that means showing you only the homes you absolutely want to see.
Awesome. You don't have to worry about that. I'll let you know.
I'm sure you will.
Give Alex a great hand. Wow.
Not bad.
Really good job. Really, really, really good job. Is it okay if I share with you what was going through my brain? How many of you put yourself in my shoes as the buyer, and would he have had you? And is there anybody in the room that he wouldn't have had? Like, that's impressive. Look around, Alex. That's the best compliment anyone can. There isn't a person in this room that you wouldn't have had. That's called system, right? A system that's duplicatable, predictable. And can you tell he's practiced it? Alex is one of the best students I've ever met. Maybe you can just chat with them a little bit about how did you get to be so articulate?
Lots of practice. One of the things you had always told me is to write it out. So working with Brian, what I learned very quickly is when he's unconsciously giving his feedback, that's when the best stuff comes out. So I would be 100 miles an hour taking notes and then email them to him. This is what I got out of our conversation. This is how, I just built the script that I used based off of that. And I would record it into my phone. I've probably written it out 4 or 5 times. I've actually written this whole thing out as well, the buyer script that you guys reviewed before this. I've just written it out, I've recorded it, and just practiced it.
How many of you would like a video of that presentation that we just did? I think we can make that available. What would you be willing to pay for it? I'm just curious. Just teasing. We'll figure it out. So let's see. Let me get my glasses, and don't anybody make any jokes about my glasses. My wife, for the role play, I just pretended I was a single businessman because I didn't have my wife here, and Alex wouldn't have met me so I just went with that. But my wife bought me these for Christmas.
Stylish.
I have 11 other colors. They came in a, what? What? Okay, so let's see. Can't read my own writing. Oh, okay, so Alex doesn't need to be fluffed. Like, I have a lot of good things that I'll point out in here, but the first thing that I'm coming up is something that would have been a little bit better. He knows that I'm relocating from New Hampshire, and I have a home in New Hampshire. It wasn't my first home. What would have been good, how many of you might say, tell me a little bit about your home in New Hampshire. What do you like most about your home in New Hampshire? I didn't want to volunteer it to him. I was thinking that, though. Like, if I told him about my home in New Hampshire, that I love my home. And if I had to relocate, one of the things that I'd miss the most is my home. So if he would have pulled that out of me, I think he would have gained some momentum in rapport in really understanding what I like about my home. So that would be something that I would add. He was brilliant, brilliant. How many times did he repeat to me that speed is important? It made me feel like, dude, even though this is laborious, but there's benefit in it, you're acknowledging my desire to not mess around. And I felt it just was beneficial for me to just be me in the presentation and not try to be somebody that I'm not. And he didn't know what he was going to get. You know, sometimes we deal with type A people. Sometimes we deal with people that are a little bit analytical. How many of you are pretty confident that Alex would have adapted his style appropriately? He talked about the smart home buying process. I mean, he used a lot of language. He used a lot of language, which I wrote down, that I want to make sure that you use, because it hit me. I'm like, there's a smart home buying process? So that was beneficial. He used alarming words that are in the presentation about pitfalls. Anybody pick that up? Take that away? So, you know, if I were trying to learn and model from Alex's presentation, one thing I would take away is I would use the word pitfalls every single time in a buyer presentation. He talked about experience in negotiations, and he differentiated himself from agents that only sell 8 homes a year. He used this several times, perfect home at the best price. Mike and Jay have created the language in there. It's brilliant. I wish I had those little nuggets back when we were doing it. It would have made, there's no doubt that we would have got the 4 sales we needed to be the #1 agent. You know, those little things. 85% have no certification. That bothered me. Like, seriously? I was in the role play and I'm like, are you certified? He said, I am, and he told me a little bit about that. So that was shocking. One thing I think that we forget is that we're in the business and we know what's normal and customary and routine and what's going on. And the buyers don't. So Alex did a great job of articulating, what the real estate industry is like. When he was describing disclosures, I loved his language of it lets you know who all the players are. So I would copy that, and that would be how I would articulate it. He did a great job. Lets you know who all the players are. We talked about confidential info. And the way that he did it, it actually is like, holy, I actually gave you more stuff than I probably, how many of you picked up on that? And he handled it just so beautifully. He's like, I haven't shown you a house yet. He put me at ease. He said it's extremely confidential. It's not leaving anywhere. And I felt at ease with that. So that was great. If I didn't say that, what I would do now as I create a system is I would say, hey, Brian, you actually gave me a lot of this information. And if in the hands of the wrong person, it could be detrimental to your transaction. But rest assured that with me, we haven't shown you a house yet. That's why we haven't shown you a house yet. That's why we're doing this. That information is, confidential. It's not to be shared with anyone else. So that to me would be a little distinction that I would take away from it if the buyer didn't volunteer it. So let them know that you kind of got them, right? I got you, and you don't want to leave me. He used the language again, perfect home at right price. When I asked him about my listings, he said, I'll get you the info on those as well as others. Really great job. This was really brilliant. Buyers make decisions 2 ways. How many of you picked up on that? Emotional, and what's the other one?
Equity.
And equity. Which one am I? A little of both, right? I was a little bit of both. I understood the financial implications of buying a home, but I'm also emotional. What I would have done, he did a great job at it, like A, but to get an A+, I would have just said, you were telling, if we found you a house that had the pool, that had the media room, that had the 3-car, 5-car garage, I want to make sure that you're making a balanced decision that couples your emotions with the equity. Because if he would have future paced me, when we find you that right house, we want to make sure that we're not just making a complete emotional decision. So I think he could have tweaked that a little bit, but it was good. He talked about the 15 to 30-year mortgage. I thought I stuck him with it, and he turned around and stuck it back. That was great. I can't wait to see it on video myself. This was a great takeaway. The number one mismanaged variable, Jay Kinder, Mike Reese, brilliant, right? I'm like, what's that? Right? And I would let it hang like a bomb, like a grenade. You know when you pull the pin on the grenade? It doesn't go off like that. It's got like 12 seconds. And people are like, holy shit, I better get away from the grenade. That's what it felt like to me when he said, the number one mismanaged variable, let the grenade, let the pin, hit the floor and lure me in because I want to know what that is. So he did a great job with that. He talked about inspections. I gave him I'm like, I'm not worried about any of that. Didn't he do a great job? Well, you told me you didn't want fixer-uppers. So he repeated back what he heard, used it against me and said, air conditioning, if that blew, would that be a problem? Heating system, if that blew, that would be a problem. For me, I don't want to deal with that. So he turned the maintenance, what was the law? It was
Future homeowner responsibility.
Future homeowner responsibilities. I'm like, he started with electric and utility bills. I'm buying a $700,000 house. What do I care? I don't care about the electric bill, but I do care about air conditioning, heating systems, mechanical components. So that was good. Just a little twist, if you wanted to really let that blow up in my brain and get a little bit more impact, you could say, imagine 2 days after you move in, you're all excited, you got a pool party, and the pump goes in the pool. How excited are you going to be? I'm not going to be excited. So would it be important for me to make sure that we check all that stuff out? I'd be like, yep, it's just reeling the fish in the boat. He really had me, though. Law 4, he used the language hidden landmines. Is that actually typed out there?
Yeah.
So, if you guys aren't using that, that was like another grenade, hidden landmines. He talked about floods, power lines. I would have just said, you didn't mention it, but we didn't talk about power lines. Do you have any adverse opinions about power lines? How many think that most people would be like, I'd prefer not to be under the power lines? So he mentioned it, but I would just peel it back a little bit more. Clue report was great. He said, I'll remind you when the time comes. So he started assuming the sale, which was great. Did a wonderful job of talking about why I would want to consider foreclosures. How many of us have ever talked to a buyer and they're like, I really don't want foreclosures? Because we have an opinion about foreclosures. And he did a great job of saying, it might be due to someone's medical issue or job loss that has nothing to do with their disrespect for the home, just a bad situation. And their loss could be your gain. Would you want to know about those? So that was really good. Talked about negotiations, talked about the difference. This was brilliant. I'm reminded every day that I sold 400 homes a year by accident. I'm not nearly as good as Alex. My team wasn't nearly as good as Alex. It was by accident. We did a lot of things right. We did them over and over and over again. But if you guys master this, it's going to be killer. I never in my life, in 25 years, have explained the difference between a pre-approval and an underwritten. How many of you saw the value in that? I couldn't help but go, holy shit, this guy is an expert, right? He knows his shit. So I would do that every single time. You know, he talked about, it's not, I gave him there was one strategy that he talked about, and I don't remember what it was, I didn't write it down, but he turned it on me and he goes, it's not just that one, oh, it's the letter, the Dear Seller letter. How many of you felt I wasn't impressed with it? By the way, are you gonna meet with buyers that some things they're gonna be really excited about? Like there were things I was really excited about, and there were things that I wasn't really excited about. We don't know what their formula and recipe is. He did a great job, I felt, of bouncing with it, right? He goes, you know what, the seller letter, sometimes it helps, but it's not any one strategy, it's the combination of all of our strategies that help you find the perfect home at the right price. And I thought that was brilliant. He talked about strategies like increasing earnest money, things that I could do. Avoiding duplicate payments, that worked for me. When I asked him, how do you get paid? He didn't fluster. It wasn't an objection, it was a question. So that's something that you should take away from this exhibition. That when someone asks you a question, answer the question. If it's an objection, it'll continue to show itself. So that's all I had. You know, I think we have a few minutes left. We can do some Q&A, but give Alex another great hand. He really deserves it.
Thank you.
Awesome job, brother.
Thank you.
Stay up here with me in case they have some questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Questions? Okay, we've got 5 minutes, so we'll do questions and then we'll take a break.
I was wondering how you would handle a buyer that possibly either called in or you were calling them from a lead management site about how if they want to come in for a showing or if they want you to take them to a showing before any of these appointments, how you would handle that.
If they wanted to see
Like if they wanted to see a home before this appointment ever happened.
Okay, so I'll do that again tomorrow morning.
Okay.
Because that wouldn't happen.
Right.
They're either going to follow my process or I'm going to let them go. And I'm going to articulate enough value to get the appointment. So the appointment, what we're doing today is from the appointment. What you're asking is, how do you deal with someone who's adamant about showing a house? So let's just shelf that for a second. I'll make a note of it, make sure that we cover it. Does everybody understand that? We all meet those people. But it's not in the context of, while it's fresh in my brain, I want to make sure we flush any questions out relative to this.
Okay, I have a question. This was a part I was a little fuzzy on. Alex, you had said something about the way we do it is this is a handshake deal. There are other agents that have you sign something that's binding.
Mm-hmm.
And then later you mentioned a buyer agency disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm fuzzy on that.
That didn't even hit me. What I was going through as a business person is that, you know, you sign things all the time, but go ahead and explain how that was for you.
Yeah, at that point, I hadn't really built any value with him. So, you know, those people say, well, I'm not signing anything when they first meet with you. So I kind of just set it up differently. But what we do is the buyer cancellation. So yeah, you sign it, but we give you the right to evaluate us, and you can cancel at any point with no cost or obligation, where when you sign with somebody else, it's a 6-month contract
Great
where you
distinction.
have to buy with that person.
Great distinction. Great question. Here, and then there. We have a bunch.
You did a really good job. You really did.
Hold the mic so that when
You
there
really
go.
did a good job. Kudos to you.
Thank you.
My question is, this is great to when you're in there. I saw how you did everything, and the presentation is great. But what do you do with people that you can't get in the door? People that say, I'm going straight to a listing agent and I want nothing to do
Okay, that's
with
over the phone.
trying to get in
That's
the door.
over the phone, so we'll cover that again in the morning. Yep. So the objection is, I just want to deal with the listing agent. Okay, I got it.
Hey, can I give a quick testimonial? I have a buyer's agent that I hired 5 weeks ago. She is just green, hasn't done really anything. So I gave her the script that we have. She got 5 appointments, and out of those 5 appointments, she got 5 buyer broker agreements with 3.5% and $497 transaction fee. It was just that quick, and all she did was this.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was good.
Alex, phenomenal job. That was incredible.
Thank you.
What system do you use that sends all these properties in real time? Is it the MLS or
MLS.
third party?
MLS.
Okay, cool. And then I've done pretty good presentations, I feel, but I run across buyers that are attached to associations like USAA where the trust has already been built, or friends or family. How do you handle those situations?
It's a good question. They're working with an agent who's in one of those associations. Is that your question?
You know, like my sister, my aunt, or I belong to USAA and they're giving me a discount, and any kind of trust that's already been built that you're up against.
Well, that would have come up on the phone, right?
Yeah.
You would have known that in advance, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But if it got to the appointment, there's no loyal. Would you agree that if I had a brother or sister or relative that's in the business, and I'm coming to meet Alex, what's my loyalty to my brother, sister, uncle? It's not strong, so he would have won it anyway. It would have come out that, you know what, Alex, I got a brother or a sister, you know, that's in the business, and I don't know how Alex would have handled that if I threw that at him. I wish you would have talked to me before, because it would have been fun.
Yeah. But Brian's right. That would have come up in the conversation on the phone. So I think what's hard to get the context of some of the questions that you guys are asking is a lot of that's done before we get to this point.
Yep.
So the person who's calling off the sign who won't come in, if you build enough value and show them a reason why they need to come in, you'll get to this point. And if they had a relative but agreed to come in, and then I hit them with all this value that their part-time relative is not going to do.
Yep.
I mean, it's a big decision for buying a home. It's probably the largest decision they'll make in their life. So you just got to articulate that to them.
Question right here, question back there, and then up here. And then we've got to take a break.
I just have a question about once you have the buyer come in and they tell you what their criteria is and how much they want to spend,
Yeah.
and then it's apparent that they're completely unrealistic or that there is no inventory for them. What do you do then?
So one of the things I've started to do now, instead of leaving the room to pull the comparables, is we have the TVs in the room. And I start to show them that I'm working for them and really entering that criteria. And I've had a situation where it's 3 or 4 properties. So at that point, you need to find out what areas do they have flexibility in. And instead of being so narrow in their search, let's broaden that a little bit. Because the idea is to get them enough properties that they fall in love with something. And if it's so narrow, it's just not going to happen. So you have to get them to open up a little bit.
So you basically start really focused on everything they want in their
I would have put
everything,
everything,
and then-
Brian shared with me.
Right.
And if I came back with 3 properties, it'd be on the screen. And I said, well, Brian, right now there's only 3 properties that fit, which is great because now you've only got to look at 3, so you can put it as a positive.
Mm-hmm.
And then I can say, well, is there anything else that, you know, maybe we've got a little flexibility on, and then I would adjust it to see what we could do. But you could also pitch it as a positive too.
Well done. Another thing you can do is if in a market like that where there's a shortage of inventory, when there's a shortage of inventory, are prices going up or going down? Prices are going up. So if we can increase our sales price, our budget now, our appreciation and our equity swing is going to grow faster. Do you follow me? So I might have a conversation with, we only have 3 properties. We're looking up to 750. Would you consider going higher if we could go up to $1 million or more and property values are appreciating, we can capture more equity. Are you open to going higher? And that might be a way that you could do it. We had one more.
It was over here.
Yep.
I guess my question is, how do you structure the offer to get that 3.5? Because it's pretty customary in our area, you only get 2.5.
Yep.
And then also, second part of that question is, on foreclosures, they don't allow you to charge a fee to the buyer, just so you know. So I'm wondering how.
What state are you in?
I'm in Illinois, and I work with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, you know, all of them, and it's in their agreement that they will not pay it. And you cannot charge the buyer for it either. So I'm just kind of curious. I can understand how you get around it because you just ask for closing costs. But how do you get the increased commission?
We're going to Wally's going to cover that tomorrow in a great session.
Okay.
So we're going to cover it from A to Z because it's not a 2-minute answer.
Right.
So we're going to lay that whole foundation out. Great. Awesome job. One more? One more.
Great presentation, Alex.
Thank you.
Is there a video, white paper, anything that goes out prior to the listing appointment?
Yeah, so that's just part of the process after you get off the phone and you book the presentation. You know, especially, I think you had asked before if there was a time frame on how quick you want the appointment. Shorter is better, but when you have those periods where it's a week or somebody's traveling, having that stuff drip to them, you know, the buyer tear sheet, digitally sent, the whiteboard video, things like that that really show that you're an expert. That also helps you when you meet with them as well, because if they've consumed some of that material, this goes way quicker.
Awesome. Great job, Alex. Awesome job.
Thank
Really, really good. Appreciate it. Very proud of you.